everybody, welcome back to the Health Bridge. This is Dr. Sarah Gottfried, and I'm here with Dr. Pedram Shojai.
Hey everybody, hi Sarah.
Hey, so I want to talk about your calcium channels today, Pedram.
Is that on TV?
So you and I did a whole bunch of baseline testing before we began our gong, and I just want to make this interesting and relevant for people because we found out that you have more excitability in your brain based on the genetics of your calcium channel. And, for people who are just like, okay, I haven't even heard the term, calcium channel since high school biology, what happens with the calcium channel is that it regulates how much calcium gets into the cells. And this can affect how your brain cells get excited. And it can also sometimes affect your mood. It can cause something called lability or mood swings. Now, this is not something that I've really witnessed with you, Pedram.
This is really interesting. I just want to qualify what's happening here in that Sarah had me send all this stuff off to test. And I have not heard these results, so we're getting my results publicly.
You're getting them
real time publicly on the show. So you've got my interest. And yeah, I'm not that way, but again, my father is, and I've probably worked my way into not being that way through training and discipline and things that have kept me sane. But I definitely have that kind of labile thing going on my father's mom's side of the family.
Interesting. Well, what I found, I've done a lot of genetic testing over the years, and this is a major feature of my next book that's coming out soon. I found that often people like you, Pedram, lean into certain mystical traditions as a way of dealing with some of the genetics that you inherited from your family. And as we often talk about, the cool thing is it's not a case of determinism where you inherit maybe a father's tendency to have mood lability. It's more that you have this hardwiring, kind of the hardware of your DNA coding. And then you also have this software. You have this epigenetic influence that can change the way that your genes are expressed. And in fact, that's 50 to 80% of how your genes are expressed. So we can really influence the way that your calcium channels work. One of the key ways to do it is with some of the mindfulness traditions that I know you've been doing for years and years and years. Another thing that's really shown to be helpful is omega-3s. So I thought this would be a fun conversation. I feel like omega-3s are maybe the most proven supplement out there, but this is especially a case where I would recommend that you regularly take somewhere between about 3,000 to 5,000 milligrams a day.
Wow. Okay. So most people who say they take omega-3s might be taking a gram or two, right? And they're like, "Wow, I'm taking a lot of fish oil." So you just hit me with 3 to 5, and that's specifically for this calcium channel piece that we're talking about, right?
It's specifically for calcium channels, but we could make this broader. For people who are listening who are saying, I don't have any problems with mood swings, I don't think I have that particular gene with the calcium channels. There's so many other places where I think omega-3s are proven. They're shown to reduce inflammation in the body. And frankly, guys, it's all about inflammation. That is the final common pathway with pretty much every disease you could face. We also know, if we just talk about hormones, you know how I like to talk about the hormones. If you are a high cortisol person, if you're a cortisol junkie like I am, omega-3s, again in the dose of about 2,000 to 4,000 milligrams a day, or 2 to 4 grams, that's what's recommended and has been shown in randomized trials, the best evidence, to reduce cortisol levels.
That's huge. Cortisol is pretty much everyone's drug of choice, it seems, in our culture, especially in like urban culture where time's compressed and we're all bopping into each other like pinballs. And so the omega-3 softens that and allows for the body to not go down some of those pathways. I'd love to I'd love for you to elaborate a little bit on that because that's intriguing.
Yeah, I think the mechanism for how it affects cortisol levels, I don't know that we've really worked that out. It's been shown in these randomized trials to lower cortisol levels if you're someone who tends to be high in cortisol. It's also been shown to shift the balance in terms of the fatty acid metabolism in your body so that you're creating less inflammation. We know in general that you want to have a certain ratio between omega-6s and omega-3s in your body. Most of us get plenty of omega-6s. Some of them are pro-inflammatory. Omega-3s help to tip that balance so that you're reducing inflammation. So if you're someone who's got, achiness in your joints, or your muscles hurt on a regular basis, or you have headaches, if you have other signs of inflammation, such as in your gut, we know that omega-3s are helpful. And it's not just fish oil. Fish oil was used for a lot of the early studies, but we know that krill oil and also some of the new forms of algae omega-3 can be helpful as well.
Yeah, and that's a big point that I'd love to stay on for a second, because fish tend to be more polluted. They're higher in the food chain, and so if you're not getting, say, a pharmaceutical grade, and by pharmaceutical grade, we're not talking about it's a pharmaceutical, but it's pharmaceutical grade, which means what you're getting is fish oil, right? Not mercury, not all the other things that could sneak through. You have a danger of getting some sort of contamination. So if you're buying cheap fish oil from, say, China, the kind of all bets are off. And so when you start talking about algae and krill and some things that are smaller and more pure, it seems to be A, healthier, and B, we're finding that there are other properties, or are we finding that it's just an easier way to source it?
Well, I think a lot of people who want to go a little lower on the food chain are interested in alternative sources. I think, I still feel like fish oil is the most proven source of omega-3. We just have decades of really powerful proof showing that it's effective. So my preference is to recommend people take fish oil. I just think it's important for the vegans and for the vegetarians to have an alternative.
Got it.
And so we're seeing more and more data with algae oil. And, some vegetarians are okay with krill oil, others aren't. I think that's, one of those gray area sources of omega-3s.
Got it. And what about flax?
So flax is interesting. A lot of people don't convert flax oil into the form of omega-3 that's really the most effective for reducing inflammation. So personally, I convert about 5% of the flax that I get into the type of omega-3 that I most need to help me focus. You and I did a show on our explorer gene and how we have a tendency toward ADD, and omega-3s help with that. But if I try to get all my omega-3s from flax oil, I'm only converting about 5% of it into the form of omega-3 that I need. So it's not a very efficient source of omega-3 for me. So I tend to go with, as you described, the pharmaceutical grade omega-3 that's really proven by third parties to be free of mercury and other pollutants.
Got it. Yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, everyone knows at this point that they should take omega-3s, but where, how, what's the source, who do I trust? There's a lot of that going around, and there's a lot of issues. Like if you just go online and Google it, the person who pays the most to intercept your query and try to sell you their stuff might not necessarily have the best product for you. So you really got to be an informed consumer in this day and age.
That's right. And, I also was just thinking about women who are pregnant. There's now powerful data showing that if you take a certain combination of omega-3s during pregnancy, it's been shown to beneficially affect cognitive performance in your baby. Not that that's, the number one goal, but it's I think important to do to help your baby along. And it also helps with the developmental system that is involved with the eyes, with the visual system.
For the baby or for the mom? For
the baby.
Fantastic.
When the mother takes it, and also when she takes it postpartum and is breastfeeding. So I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. It's something that I researched when I had kids a long time ago, but it's something that you can Google easily and find out the right doses of DHA versus EPA.
Fantastic. And yeah, we'll look at that. We'll go to the Facebook page and we'll put that for you guys too, facebook.com/thehealthbridge. And so so I've got this funky gene, right? Enough about you. What about me, right? Right. So
you have this genetic variation.
I got this genetic variation that kind of tweaks my calcium channels, and taking omega-3 helps that so that I'm less emotionally labile. How does that connect those dots? So this calcium channel thing is happening, but then dude is emotionally labile or has a predisposition towards that. What happens in the brain to make that happen?
Well, I'm going to do some speculation here because I don't know that the mechanism is fully worked out. But here's some of the things that we know. We know that people with depression tend to have a deficiency in omega-3s. Now, is that proof that is the reason for their depression, that it's causal? No. But we also know that people who take omega-3s are less likely to be depressed. So that's taking this outcome of depression, looking more upstream at what do you do if you've got this gene that makes your calcium channels, a little harder to regulate. It's hard to connect the dots and really know the mechanism. We just know that it seems to make the regulation of your calcium channels better.
So this is a really great point, because I'm kind of playing that guy right now, and here's how science works, right? Is just because we don't understand the specific mechanism of something yet, it doesn't mean that the evidence doesn't suggest that we should take omega-3, right? And people say, well, we don't have proof about acupuncture. It's like, yeah, but for 5,000 years it's been helping people. Duh, right? And so this is kind of one of the issues we have in science, like in general, is, we don't understand all the nuances of the universe. It doesn't mean we have to pack our bags and go home and do nothing. Right? It means that what we know works is probably a good place to start.
I haven't rocked a Chris Kresser quote in a while. Can I insert one right here, Pedram?
Bringing him back.
Oh,
Nice.
Chris Kresser. So he said something so wise the other day on his podcast. He said, lack of proof is not proof against. And I think that is a very important point. It's really the point that you're making. I just thought he happened to put it together in a very nice way. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, and that's huge, right? So omega-3s on it, right? Let's talk about genetic testing. I know we just did a show on that, but this is kind of like a ongoing thing as Sarah and I are becoming, kind of going full disclosure on our own stuff to share with you guys. A, that we're human, and B, that we're trying, and C, that hopefully this process can illuminate a process for you guys as well. Is we did some genetic testing. Sarah's kind of, telling it like it is on the air here, and so for you guys who are interested in doing this kind of stuff, we did Genomind specifically, and there's 23andMe, and we'll put some resources on healthbridgeshow.com. But what else can people find out about this? I mean, it's such an exciting time in medicine.
It is an exciting time. And I think the next 10 to 20 years of medicine is going to be all about this. I mean, frankly, if we reel it back and we say, okay, we funded the Human Genome Project many decades ago, and the first genome was sequenced, we got that data sometime around 2002, 2003. It cost us a lot of money. It was like $3 billion or just short of it. And, we thought that the genetic revolution was going to happen right away. And frankly, it's been a little more sobering and a little slower than we expected. But there's a few bright spots in this field of genetics and kind of understanding what's within your control, given your hard wiring, and what you can affect with your lifestyle, with the way you eat, move, think, and supplement. So that's what I think is so exciting. And the cool part is you can go to 23andme.com. You can pay $99 and get many of your genes tested. And then you can start to gather information about what to do about it. Like if you've got an issue with your calcium channel, take the omega-3s. If you're like Pedram and me and you have an issue with the Explorer gene and you chew through dopamine way too fast in your frontal lobe, guess what? Meditation is even 10 times more important for you. So I think this is one of those paths of empowerment for the enlightened consumer to really start to understand some of your genetics and why you have certain tendencies, and then to do something about it.
That's huge, because look, I could go on the internet or go look at Prevention Magazine or something and be like, oh my God, look at all of these things I need to do for my health. I got to get up and jog and then stretch, and I got to do a functional workout, and then I got to do yoga, but then there's Qigong, then there's Tai Chi, and then meditation. And by the time you like get through your checklist of the things that people have told you to do for your health, it's next week. Right? And so this type of strategy helps you become a lot more enlightened about what specifically is going to help you get through your day. And I find it to be incredibly liberating, because it frees up my time to do the things where I know I'm going to get the most bang for my buck.
Oh, it's so true. And I think you and I both have what Chris Kresser calls the supplement graveyard, right? Where we have cabinets and cabinets and cabinets of supplements. And what I love about genetic testing is that it just helps you cut all that noise. And instead of saying, okay, these 100 supplements are a good idea, it can help you narrow it down. these 3 supplements are really important for you. Pedram, I want you to have some green tea in the morning and to swallow your omega-3 when you have your green tea. You're going to get your explorer gene and also your calcium channel gene. Boom.
Yeah. Hey, great. Thanks, Doc. Got that. Right? And that's wonderful because, a lot of the medicine that I've seen practiced, and, I've kind of been around that block, as have you, is, I don't know, throw some Tylenol at it. I don't know, take a multivitamin. Which one? Go to Costco. I don't know, just get Centrum. And so there's such a lack of specificity in that, and the medicine is now starting to really kind of circle in and get a lot more nuanced and individualized. And again, we have a lot of doctors that listen to our show. Guys, if you're going, hey, that's interesting, go to the IFM, go to the Institute for Functional Medicine, get trained in this stuff if you haven't already, because it is a revolution happening in the way we practice medicine and deal with health every single day of our lives. And so, medicine is already doing an about face. It's changed in front of our very eyes. Your average American won't see it for another 12 years, unfortunately, and that's why Sarah and I are on the podcast. So please share our podcast with your friends and family. But we're trying to get the message out there. The old way of practicing is dead, and if you're still getting treated that way, your doctor is unaware usually and is doing you a disservice, because there's a lot more you can do to help you now.
That's right. So I love talking about this. I think we have sort of a long list of different genes we can talk about, but I want to make sure that our timing works for people who are commuting and who are listening for us. So we'll maybe save another gene for another time.
All right, another gene, another day.
So everyone, thanks so much for listening to us today. We really appreciate your support. Remember to subscribe in iTunes to our show, share it with your friends, and come visit us on our Facebook page. We love you guys.
Love you guys. See you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.